Man, I've been wanting to say good day, mate, to a dear friend of mine who covers baseball in Australia as well as the United States. What? Let's talk about it, shall we? My best friends in broadcasting and a fellow baseball voice, Mr. Danny Vaughan, joins me this afternoon. Good night, Mike. How are you, my friend? Great to
I'm
have you.
doing good. I'm doing good on you. How you doing, Brian? Good to see you. Always enjoy your passion and your enthusiasm. You're contagious, my friend. You're contagious. Let me adjust my
This,
camera there.
this
You're
is
you're
fun.
contagious.
This is fun to me. Baseball has been my main sport since as long as I can remember. My dad and my granddad got me into it, played it for a little bit. And for the better part of 25 years, I've been a voice, either here in studio, covering it virtually, or doing it in person. And you just completed your 14th season in the American Association. To have those kind of credentials behind you, man, what's that like? What's it like to be a baseball voice?
Ah, man, I'm blessed. I mean, I've always said, and this goes back many, many years ago when I was in Jacksonville back in the '90s. I used to come over the St. Johns River there in Duval County, and you'd come over the bridge and you'd look down behind the Gator Bowl, see the ballpark, and I realized behind the ballpark were these buildings in downtown Jacksonville. And I knew a lot of folks were going to work, and they were going to be in that 12th or 13th, 20th floor of that building and looking at a cubicle. I was actually going to be parking in that ballpark and going into the ballpark and working in the ballpark. And whenever you can do that for a living, it's blessed, man. I mean, going to the ballpark is a blessed life. It's not a windfall, but it is a blessed life, and I've been really blessed to do that.
Same here, man. I've done it for high schools for so long. I've covered baseball up
Yep.
in the region for many, many
Oh yeah.
years and in the Chicagoland area. Man, I tell you what, I got a goal this year to get back to the state championships, either in Indy or in Joliet, Illinois. I've done Joliet for 4 years now. Bringing that kind of excitement to the audience, to the folks who tune in, and especially now in the 21st century when it's all interactive and the fans chime in, just to let you know, hey, you're doing a great job, and we tune in. That's got to feel good for you, doesn't it?
It does. And I was telling a friend of mine on Wednesday mornings, I make my home in Dallas in the off season. And I was telling one of my friends from church this morning, we were just chatting about, he's a teacher, and we were talking about, every once a that boy, right? Every once an attaboy, way to go, whether it be from your boss. But I was telling him this morning, the attaboy I love is when a fan says, you know what, I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm so and so, and maybe it's a parent, a family member of a player, or just I appreciate it. And that to me is, I mean, yes, I love my boss to tell me attaboy, but when a fan says, I love what you're doing, I appreciate it, thank you so much. I mean, that is the ultimate. I mean, yes, we gotta pay a bill or two, but that to me is what makes it all stand out. When I get an email from a fan, or there's a guy in Sioux City, used to live in Sioux City, now lives out in New Mexico because for the weather, and he used to live in Iowa. And gentleman is retired, and he'll send me an email once in a while just saying thank you, and I appreciate that. Those thank yous mean so much, and those relationships of fans, listeners, such a great experience. And I think that's the one thing that you and I get to do, Brian, where we're, whether it be, I do high school, but kind of warming things up for my American Association season, but, being able to be at the high school level and meet the families, or at the professional level and make lifetime relationships, whatever it may be, those relationships and those times of people, I love that. I think it's one of those things. I'm not so sure every business gets that. I know in customer service you do, but I'm not so sure a person, like I said, the cubicle on the 20th floor gets the same opportunity that we get.
When I was covering Marquette Catholic in Michigan City, and I may get a chance to do it again this year, I'm waiting to hear back from them. When the boys were on their run to the state championship in 2014, I uttered a phrase that I heard from Steve Rabel, the voice of the Seahawks, when it was Ryan Fazekas who made like a blind pass that turned into a 3-point play. and I uttered the words, "Holy catfish," and that came on the road. When I came back to the Shoals Center, there's a whole bunch of people there waiting for me, and one of the parents walked up to me and just spat out, "Holy catfish." And I'm sitting there cracking up laughing because it indicates to me, A, they listen to the game, B, they pay attention to it, and C, like you get all the time with Sioux City, and I'm a big fan of yours. When you get fans that recognize calls like that, that's a fun thing, man. That's a fun thing.
I just reached for something. You saw me reach. I'm going to show you something. This is a top five catchphrase. I didn't do this. A fan brought this to me, made this for me last year. One of our dear friends, dear fans, left it in the broadcast booth, and I've got this. I bring it with me home, but during the season, it's on my wall. But it's got my, he picked out. This is not me. This is not something I picked out. These are top five of DV's catchphrases, and he took the time to make that. And I obviously, they're tuning in. And I didn't say, "Hey, make me a thing of 5 catchphrases." That was one of our fans. There in Sioux City. He said, "Hey, this is for you," and he took the time to. Obviously, he ranked him, and that was his. And and the thing about it was, he was pretty daggum close, right? So I mean,
Yes.
that means that I'm doing the right thing, and I've always said goes back to my early years when I first got to pro ball out of college. I just thought, I'll show up, broadcast the games, and I'd go home. And there's a lot more to it than that, the pro game. I mean, it was tarp pulling and sales and, hey, we need somebody to hop by the ticket window because we're short-handed tonight or whatever. And I realized being more than a broadcaster was very important. And I've always prided myself in being more than the broadcaster. That's always something I've really taken to heart. And so, you don't realize the impact you have on fans, and that's why even now during our season, I go down to the gate. We go on the air for a 7:05 game. We go on at 6:35. But when the gates open at 6, I like to go down and just say hello to the fans or just the gate people and spend 5 or 10 minutes there at the gate, just because I just think that's a great opportunity to be bigger than oneself and to give back to the fans and give back to the community, whether it be through charity or the Ronald McDonald House or whatever it is I do. It's being more than just a guy on the air and just flipping a button, because that's the easiest part of the job. The other things, takes time, and you got the game notes and the media relations, and just taking the time and stepping behind the turnstile and saying hello to a fan. That to me is the ultimate. That's what I love about the job the most.
It's the ultimate for me too, because I covered Michigan City for 3 years, and it was so great seeing the fans come in and they wave up to me at the booth. Before that, I was at Trinity International from 2011 to 2015, and a lot of fans from all across the country would tune in, and it was that time where I really learned to improvise because people didn't get the broadcast link. So I said, okay, I got to come up with something so I can help the staff out. And that's when the AD came to me and said, "Is there a way you can spread the word out?" And that's when the brain started turning. And you've gone through this. It's like, okay, leave this to me. I got an idea. So I started using Facebook to get the word out to everybody. And wouldn't you know it, the word spread like hotcakes. Because there was one player. His name's Dylan Turk, one of my favorite guys. I don't know how this happened, but I learned that he was from Hawaii, and his mom asked me, "Can you come up with a nickname for him?" Why did he make this incredible catch, and out my mouth came the Hawaiian Turk? The Hawaiian Turk came out. 2 weeks later, she had a sweatshirt with said nickname on the.
That's awesome.
On the
That's
shirt.
awesome. That's awesome. And that's organic, though. That's organic. And a lot of times those things come to us. We do. I do. A gentleman named Brad Allred, who's the voice of the Cleveland Railroaders and the American Association. He and I in DFW do a high school called Grandview, a 3A high school, really powerhouse in sports. And he and I have come up with some crazy things. And that gummit, like last year, we had a quarterback named Mason. Well, he's still the quarterback, but Landers was the quarterback, and Sanders was the number one receiver. And they're still with the team this year. And it was during the election last year because and you know this. And in the election, you see all these these signs about vote for so and so, right? And I just came up with the idea. Says in my front yard, I got a Landers to Sanders sign. And that was sort of the thing. And so so sure enough, T-shirts came up. Landers and vote Landers and Sanders. They weren't running for anything. These are a couple of high school kids, but it organically came to us like that.
That's the most beautiful thing. That's the most beautiful thing. Landers and Sanders come out of nowhere. Did I lose him? I think he's. Oh, it's unfortunate. I think he froze on us. Yeah. There you are. There you are.
We lost you there for a second.
We lost you for a bit. There we are. You know what? I don't know. I can't tell you how many phrases or nicknames or whatever I've come up with over the course of 30 years. Most of them have all stuck. When I was doing travel baseball, the kids would ask me, "Are you going to come up with a nickname for this guy?" Very first year I did travel baseball, 2006. I was at Ho Chunk Sports Complex. Crown Point had visited, and they had a guy named Cody Bacon. I said, "You're not going to make it this easy, are you?" And Mom looked at me and she says, "You got something for me tonight?" I may have something on my sleeve. She goes to sit down, and he comes up, and I said, "Now batting number 12, Cody, it's Bacon." Lost it.
Yeah, I mean, that happens, man. That's the fun part that's the creative side too. That and I catch myself, sometimes after the fact going, that would have been pretty funny if I'd have said that. But I like to have it where it's kind of organic like that, where it just kind of happens right there, and just sort of bounces in there. And I mean, I've had a couple of kids work for me over the years that they almost try too hard to find that fun name. And sometimes you try too hard, you miss it. But if you're just sort of in the moment, it seems like in the moment, that's the best time to come up with those names, And as well as I do, as an athlete, as a former athlete growing up, especially in baseball, everybody has nicknames, right? I mean, that goes back to the turn of the last century. If you look at old Chicago Tribune or any Sioux City, for example, you look at the old newspapers, the newspaper writers would write, they'd call a guy, whatever, say their name was Spider. Well, old Spider had a home run, and you're like going, who's old Spider? Well, they had nicknames. And that's the funny thing about it is, Brian, is that a lot of teams got their names from sports writers who gave them nicknames as they were writing, the old whoever's, and that's sort of how it organically happens. So I love the organic thing. You did the right thing, my friend.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun to do this and to have we all will have our exciting plays. And it's what you mentioned a few moments ago. It's the connection with the fans and the families, because I do high school football myself. I do college basketball now, and I'm getting to know these kids at IU Columbus. They've now seen me for 3 games, and I talked to a couple of them while I was visiting my wife at work, and they saw me and they said, "You're here. You're actually going to call the games." I said, "Yes, I am." And one of them comes up, he's being ultra playful, and he says, "Look, I may love LeBron, but you got to be nice to be on the microphone." And I cracked up. I cracked up when he said it. And I said, "You are fine, my man. This is where all the fun happens." And with the athletes that make the broadcasters, it's like, it's such, and you said it earlier, and I've echoed it so many times, it's such a joy when it happens.
It really is. And, I was down doing a high school game in Mejia, Texas for Grandview last Friday night. And a gentleman walked up. We do a segment on our broadcast called Classroom Champion. And I usually tape it on Wednesdays. And it's, it's the focus about a student in the classroom who, could be a young lady, young man. When we ask them about their teachers and all that stuff. Well, about 6 weeks ago, we had a kid on, and the gentleman walked up to me and says, I just want to thank you. And can I get a copy of that interview? And I'm like, and I'd never met the guy before, but I love that whole opportunity. I'm absolutely, I'll get to it next week. I'll send you a copy of that. And, you just, yes, don't kid me. Because I'd love to be, I'd love to be calling in Major League Baseball games. I'm not going to be able to have that interaction with doing that. I mean, the American Association, there's some of that, but by and large, it's professional. But at the high school level, be able to have that interaction with the families is really cool. And
I lost them again. Doggone it.
At the smaller levels, sometimes, there's no big press box, so I'm maybe calling the game right next to the backstop, and I got the pitcher's parents to my right, and it's great. It's a great thing, and maybe I can ask them, hey, I may say something, and they may say, oh yeah, he likes that, or he does like pizza, or his favorite one is pepperoni, whatever it may be, because they're right there. You don't get that. You don't get that when you're in the press box in a professional game.
You don't. You really don't. When I was in Hebron in 2016. It was a new assignment for me. We got it all together, and I said, okay, I got to have something to kick off the broadcast, because the folks at Marquette was used to it, Michigan City was used to it.
Yep.
And one day, I kept thinking to myself, one of my most popular phrases, it's time to play ball, y'all. One day I said, this is Hebron Hawks baseball, y'all. And it stuck.
It works. There's always something, and it sticks. And I can go back to my years in Gary SouthShore, where the late Tommy was doing the PA, and Tommy was people.
Mm-hmm.
And every time and in my head, it was something he said. That was his thing, man. And it came organically. I asked him one day, I said, he goes, oh yeah, just sort of, that was always my thing. It just came naturally. And he did it for 25 years, 30 years, whatever. He was always doing that. And I love those organic things, man.
Tommy was so influential and dear to both of us.
Yes, great.
And
great.
That's where it was Gary where I met you. Because I had to sit in for him one night because he had another assignment. Yep. And he asked me to PA for him for an afternoon game against St. Paul, and I jumped all over it. And that's where I met you, my friend.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I spent 2013, 14, 15, 16 there, and still consider those people, those dear friends of mine. I love Northwest Indiana. It was a lot of fun being that Chicagoland. I love the ballpark. It was a beautiful park, and actually, my mom and my brother and his wife live over in Elkhart, which is about 80 miles or so to the east of you guys. But I always love going back there, and the broadcast booth's great. The ballpark's great. It's always a really good homecoming. And whenever I'm there, I always enjoy seeing the old faces. And so when we met, right there. And you're feeling for Tommy, and boy, he's a guy I miss dearly. He was such a really good mate.
Yeah, miss you. Love your partner, Tommy Williams. We miss you. We miss you very, very much. A very dear brother of mine, Danny Vaughan, joining me here on this session of Mike to Mike, recalling stories, having fun, and just being organic with everything, which is what you guys should do too. Thank you, Danny. I love you, brother. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it anytime, my friend, and keep rocking it and keep that passion. It's contagious, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Preceding is a presentation of Snowman in the Morning, a part of Snowman Multimedia.